I don't know how to do this, so.
Just none of us do.
Alright.
Is now streaming live on YouTube. Oh God.
Oh no. I'm about to start my stream for Twitch.
Yeah, Michael Chandler over there. Can I get some? Do I have to do like a gallery review? Seriously, that's what I have to do. That's whatever.
Don't need the overlay.
Let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 accounts now that I'm going to choose to bring up during our conversation of bad experiences while working on vehicles.
How many of those are one of my vehicles?
Between the two of you, it basically is everything.
I only have the one. Well, I've got quite a few actually.
Yeah. Don't worry, we'll get to those.
It's already been discussed on here, though. That's the problem.
Huh?
Okay. We are technically live.
Technically. During our conversation of, ooh, God, I hate myself.
Yeah, mute that shit. Well, let's do it. Welcome to the Camcast, guys. I'm your host, Zach Lords, Lord of the Boards, Colonel Eddie Dean himself, the chairman of whatever I do. This is really fucking weird to do by myself. And I have my two lovely co-hosts today, Jackson Hendrickson, the man, the myth, the legend, Jackson Hendrickson, internet's most hated person, and Taylor, the meme lord, Roberts. I don't even know. If you guys,
one of the only men who has actually totaled the Pulsar GTIR in the state of Utah.
That's true.
That's me.
As you may have tell, this is a little bit more of a different episode because only I am here that you're used to. Jackson was here once, and then we delayed the episode, and it was never to be aired ever again.
Oh.
For a reason.
Is that Zeus in the background?
Yeah, that's him.
Well, today we have a great agenda and an even better question of the week. We got tons and tons of responses, so hopefully it turns out pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good stories.
And yeah, well, let's just hop right into this. So, shit, where did the agenda go? There it is.
I probably pull the agenda up.
So you can find this lovely podcast on all the great social media places. Facebook at camautomag.com or not automag.com. Cam Facebook page. We also have a shenanigan group chat as well too. We have the Twitters for we can post racing stuff. We have an Instagram where we do like NASA Day stuff. That's all Mike's job, but let him do that. And what else are we on? Shit, I don't know.
Twitter.
Yeah, I already said Twitter. Instagram, Facebook. That's basically it.
You got a LinkedIn, yo?
No, not yet. We're working on the LinkedIn. This is definitely in my LinkedIn bio. You can find this where you find all great podcasts at, it says Taylor Streaming. You can find this on YouTube. You can find this on Spotify, Google Play, Apple. Please rate, review, like, and subscribe to all those platforms. It helps this podcast grow bigger and better, where hopefully you will see less of my awful friends. We also have an awesome Patreon. We have a couple different subscriber tiers. $1 a month gets you access to our super secret shenanigans group chat. Is it $5?
Secret.
Is it $5? I don't remember which one it is. $1 gets you something. I don't know. Maybe a shout out. I don't remember how this shit works. And then a couple of levels.
$1 shows us your appreciation. $5,
yes.
We get to show you our appreciation and vice versa.
You're better at this than I am. Shit.
Glad Jackson knows this better than you.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm really zoned out at this point. I'm doing other shit at this point. We also have a merch store where you can buy our merch. You can be dripping in all that Hot Boy swag, like my awesome Cam hat. We have tons of cool things. We've got new Cam stickers. We've got Cam sandals, Cam bags, Cam other things. Lots of Cam stuff.
Flip-flops just came in, right?
Yep. I don't have them yet. I don't have them yet, but at some point I will.
Flip backpacks, I think, are the last ones that are coming in.
Yeah. I know there's a little bit of a wait time because they're coming from like Indonesia or some shit like that, but they will be here at some point. We also need to thank our longtime sponsor, Steady Broke, Tommy and his gang doing all the sweet work with the Broke AF t-shirts, the Broke State University, the ramen shirt. I don't remember all this stuff. They're great quality.
I think, I was just looking it up. It says ramen won't cut it or something like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, they're great looking shirts. They're also like starting at like $15 each.
You get a lot for your bang for your buck.
Yeah, even ramen can't fix this is what their slogan is. And honestly, like it looks like it's a great design. It's very great.
Very great.
That's what they need to change their slogan to now. It's great.
It's great. It's great.
Now they're gonna get DMCA'd.
Yeah. Michael Chandler, the guy who normally runs this, runs a Twitch Tuesday where he plays tons of different games, everything from GTA 5 to the one with the ball and hold on, let me go to my Steam library, remember what it's called.
Rocket League,
that one. But it looks like this week they're doing Forza 7. I don't know all the details, but every Tuesday they play games. And normally I'll join in just shit talk.
Follow in on the Cam's Facebook page and you'll be able to get all the details.
Yeah, what he said.
I think last week was last week was Rocket League. Week before was Horizon 4. Mike's trying to find a lot of things that are crossplay, which hopefully with this next generation of consoles will really come out. We'll be able to play with each other and talk shit.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. Legends is doing that. I'm hyped for that one.
Well, what did you guys do this weekend? Because I knew what I did this weekend.
I know what I did this weekend, and I'm not proud of it.
Taylor, what did you do this weekend?
What did I do this weekend? I just played games. That's all I did.
No car stuff? Did you get any parts in for your Honda?
No, actually, and I don't want to talk about that right now.
What's going on with those injectors, boy? When are we turboing your 9th gen?
The injectors haven't shipped, and I actually haven't heard from the guy in a couple of days.
Ooh, have you already beat him?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a big
he was supposed to ship them Saturday. Said that he was working till 3. Post office closes at 1. Okay, that's understandable. I don't know when they close where he's at. And then Monday, and then he's like, "Oh, Monday, I'm off work, so I'll ship them out then." So it's Monday. Messaged him, I think at 9, 2, and just before I left to go grocery shopping, and haven't heard anything back. He hasn't seen it. And there's quite a few people that have vouched for him, but I don't know I got nothing.
So. Well, Jax and I had opportunity to take a Viper out for a weekend or a weekend day and go tear through some of the great back roads of Utah.
Zach was supposed to have the Viper back at 1, and
I think we got to him at like 5:30 or 6.
I think we hit the Salt Lake Valley at 5:30.
Yeah. But yeah, we got an opportunity to go rip around a Viper, which I want to do some more talking about later on a different date. But yeah. Well, I know we have some shout outs, mostly birthdays. We got Joshton. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, Joshton. I've never figured out how to pronounce it. Travis Tidball, Brian Radich. I don't know how to pronounce any of these last names. I'm awful at this.
Brian
Jake Kelson, Daniel, how do you pronounce your last name? I'm awful at this shit.
Rosengren,
there we go.
Rosengren? Yeah, Okay, God, I can't do it either.
Yeah, we're awful at this shit. Mike, this is why we need you here. Christina Chelsea Anderson, Bradley Castor, Chris Stone, and Jadley Porritt.
Jordan Porritt?
What did I say?
I think you said Bradley. I think you're just kind of mixing names and coming up with new ones.
Yeah, probably. That sounds basically like me.
Zach really can't read, and names are definitely even lower on that list.
Hey.
I'm trying to figure out who's highlighting right now. That's funny.
Anonymous.
That's me. Now I'm at the hamster. I don't know. Well, we have some news. Not a lot of it, but we have some news. I didn't read any of this shit. I have not prepared at all. Let's see. Hold on. Look for this real quickly. Something about the Mach-E, it works perfectly. I'm thinking there's another Ford issue. That's later in this thing. Shit, I'm awful at this.
I did read a little bit about that one, and it had something to do with they're following Tesla's self-driving habits,
Okay.
and it's probably gonna fail like theirs did.
It looks like it's being launched with the Mach-E and other new coming platforms.
We're going in detail off of for these bullet points, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so it says that Ford will be introducing a hands-free driving mode on some vehicles, including the Mach-E. So that's not just the Mach-E, which is still not even released.
There was a photo of one driving around.
Do we have an estimated release date for it?
I think it was something like 2021, but that seems really optimistic.
Yeah, especially given the current situation of the world. 2021. Basically, the automotive manufacturer right now, I think everything is pushed back. And Nissan coming out with announcing or foreshadowing a 400Z is very, very optimistic for them.
So
That's
it
pretty
looks
cool,
like
though.
Ford is calling it the Copilot 360 Assist, and it will be looks like a standard option on the Mach-E. And I'm assuming as their lineup grows and expands, and as new vehicles get refreshed, we'll start to see the Ford Copilot 360 Assist on more vehicles. I can't wait to watch it do an F-150 driving hands or with no hands.
Well, it's finally nice because, I mean, Tesla's more or less been one of the biggest people for autonomous driving. And I think it's July 1st, their hands-free assisted driving program goes up $1,000 in price for any of the users. So it's nice being able to see someone like Ford who sells so many vehicles every year.
Yeah, one of the largest sellers in the U.S.
Yeah, start trying to get some road miles for any of their research and development teams. So I think it's really great seeing that groups are actually finally moving into adopting it on production models now.
Yeah, and not just high-end brands like Audi and Volvo and stuff, like a more entry-level company like Ford.
But do you think it'll have the same issues that Fords are known for?
Oh yeah, because segue the next one, Ford did it again. They have announced the brand new Ford Bronco on whose birthday?
O.J. Simpson.
O.J. Simpson's birthday, which I didn't read the article. Was that intentional or just?
They did it on accident, and they felt bad, so they changed it.
You should have kept it.
That's what I said.
The internet responded and said, wow, that's really nice. Because if I remember correctly, O.J. Simpson was the famous photo of him with all the police behind him. He's in a Bronco.
Yes. His slow getaway was in a white 92. Oh, shit.
93. I think it was 93.
Ford Bronco.
So It just so happens they're like, hey, we're going to come out with the Ford Bronco. And the release date was O.J. Simpson's birthday, who...
I want to figure out who realized that. Like, did somebody just know what his birthday was? Like that's like some
honestly
esoteric knowledge or knowledge.
It's one of those things that some people just dive into it and try to figure everything out that they can.
Yeah, hence quote unquote media stuff right there.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see the new Ford Bronco with Ford virtual. I already forgot the name of it. Copilot 360 Assist, whatever.
I'm just going to start adding names into it. So it's going to be the Ford Copilot Advanced Auto 360 Assist.
The Thunder Cougar Falconberg. Thunder Cougar Falconberg.
360.
Well, coming from the other side of the planet, BMW is launching a new M5C or S. Well, I can't read.
CS with a carbon fiber roof. It's going to have a lighter weight than other curved models and 641 horsepower rated.
What is the, I'm asking guys like you would know, what is the current M5 making? Let's find out. Oh,
Five
shoot.
something
A
like
lot
that.
of people that would know those kind of details right off the top of their head, that would be you, Zach.
I'm not interested in new.
I thought it was like five something.
While Zach's pulling up the current statistics off of the M5, this one is a face, or it's expected later this year to have the carbon fiber roof, lighter weight, and 641. Zach, have you found what current production is?
It is saying 600
Okay,
is
so
what the base model is. Like, but it's
Like-
weird because it's ranging from 600 to 617. I don't know.
that's
Maybe,
not just all the screen packages. I mean, it's already an M, so it probably has like an M5 and then probably also an M Sport, which will help
yeah, maybe.
timing that much more at a whatever RPM. But this one's supposed to pick up an additional 40 horsepower off of a base model M5. It's also going to weigh a lot lighter. But then there's also supposed to be a facelift version of the 5 Series, which will be coming. And there's going to be a CS version of that, and that will have 34 more horsepower than the current competition model of the 5 Series. So
Yeah,
That sounds cool.
It sounds like a very expensive package. Is there a price on it?
More than 100K, 120 starting.
Yeah, which is kind of what I expected for that. Well, do you guys are you guys familiar with the Polestar 1? Have you guys been following that at all?
no, but before we get to that, Chris Miller did put in the YouTube chat. He said he dropped 60 grand on an Explorer. Ford is not exactly an entry vehicle when the F-150 can easily be optioned up to 75 grand, which is completely true.
But you can also get an F-150 starting at like 32 or some shit like that.
That is a fair point. I mean, trucks have just gone up in price. They're not really comparable. Like they used to be within maybe 30% of just like a sedan that you would buy. And now sedans aren't really even options anymore to begin with. But yeah, you can definitely walk off a Ford dealership lot with, $400 a month monthly payments for 5 years.
Yeah, and he did mention that it's cheaper than a German car, which that's 100% true. That's the point I was trying to make. But like, if you let's say you try to get into an X5,
Oh yeah,
base model X5 is going to start you at 55, 45 maybe, and then if you start getting options like you're going to do with the Explorer, you're going to start looking at a $60,000 to $70,000 price range. So,
yeah.
Okay. So have you guys been following the Polestar 1? Do you guys know anything about it?
You and I have had a couple of conversations, but I haven't followed it closely. But just these topics, it's already, it's exactly what I expected. It's not letting me down, basically.
Yeah. So for those who aren't familiar with it, I've been following it for a while. So the Polestar 1, it's still the same quote unquote Polestar that we're used to from like modified Volvos from the past, like the full rally heritage, like fully optioned Volvos. But now they're making a full electric car. And it's based off of, I believe it's the S60 chassis.
I believe so.
But it's completely different. It has tons of different exterior designs, interior designs. It's a gorgeous looking car. And they've had this thing in the works for, I don't know, at least 3 years now. But they are now saying that it will get a 52-mile EPA electric range, which
And then partially following that, there's a bullet point which says it will do 58 miles per gallon E. So I'm assuming that this is going to be a very aggressively designed hybrid vehicle.
So
I've never heard of this vehicle in my life.
I'm a little confused now. Originally, I thought it was fully electric, which maybe I just haven't been reading into it enough.
Well, that might be the difference of the just a vehicle that Polestar is making compared to the Polestar 1.
Yeah.
Because that is something, I believe it was late 2018, Polestar made an announcement with Volvo that they were going to make a fully electric vehicle. And we've been waiting for that. And
yeah, because this is a 2-door, and the one I thought was fully electric was a 4-door.
And
So they might be doing one of the things where they're trying to get something out with proven technology to start making income before they can go and start developing or finish developing their full electric vehicle, which has untested technology.
right,
Or-
not to
on manufactured technology.
With them being based in Europe, they're going to want to be trying to follow any European Union emission standards. And
Well, okay, so you're wrong.
I'm wrong.
Sweden's not part of the EU. It's part. It is a secondary set of the EU, which has free border range. Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
Where are their vehicles being sold at?
The EU.
And doesn't it still have to follow the laws of the vehicle or of the country the vehicle was sold in?
Yeah, I'm just trying to flex on some geopolitical knowledge on you, so you know.
Sweden's not a part of the European Union, but they're trying to make a market inside the European Union, and they're falling so much harder on their emissions every year. I mean, what's the goal? 2025? No more gasoline engines or something like that.
Every place is a little bit different. I think it's 2025 is the soonest one that's going to be no gasoline engines inside the city district of Paris. And I know some other cities have other things. London said something about 2030. So the numbers are all over the place.
So everywhere is different, and we'll see what happens if they do it. Isn't California talking about doing something like that too?
I saw an article somewhere. I didn't read into it. I don't know.
I never looked into it. I just saw it and was like, oh, yep, there's California.
I would I think it's high probability for sure, because, I mean, somewhere that's tried pushing for solar panels on all their homes that have been in development recently, along with how hard smog is to pass in the state. My dad has the V10 Triton F250 for his work truck, and
it's a Viper, right?
He pays it's over $1,000 every year for registration, because it is a industrial vehicle and they tax very hard. I mean, they're the first ones that had the clean vehicle registration. So like the Priuses, they were huge, and registering a Prius was similar to registering a Honda Civic, a 90s Civic, which is already, at the time, it was 20 years old. As long as it passed emissions, they were fine with it, but it was just as cost effective to purchase a Prius, which at the time when they were new, they didn't have the issues.
So they've done what Japan does, where it's more.
Yeah, well, Japan's a little bit different. It's based on, more or less. Japan.
How many miles or kilometers it's driven, whatever.
That and displacement of the engine has a lot to do with the cost of registration as well too. But Japan has a really good grandfathering system, similar to what we have. Germany has actually a really bad grandfathering system. That's why you don't see old S-classes on the road in Japan or in Germany, because their emissions standards move forward with all their vehicle lineups. So you can't get a standard licensed vehicle in Germany for like an older model. You can still drive them there, but there's different licensing and stuff for them.
It has to be TÜV approved.
Yeah. I don't think this is not a surprise to anybody. It looks like Jaguar is contemplating dropping the XE and XF sedan, because sedans
doesn't sell.
They don't sell. It looks like they're thinking about turning them into one vehicle in a hatchback style, similar to the A3.
Honestly, I really like the looks of the A3, and Jaguar is known for always having like luxurious, good-looking vehicles. It has a very set design. It's not, a cookie cutter kind of looking thing. I'll be excited for them to, stop producing already slow-selling vehicles and focus on a new chassis. Hopefully, they completely change the chassis.
I am a little sad to see it go, because there's something to be said about the large Jaguar body, the big body Jags. Yeah. Like, there's something to be said about rolling up in one of those, because you're instantly important. Yeah, and so seeing that goes a little sad, but that's how the times are going. That's how the times are going. And so we blew through the news faster than I think any Camcast has ever blown through the news.
Because I don't know anything about what we're talking about. Gonna be completely honest with you. I don't keep up with Jaguar.
Normally, other people are more informed about these topics, and we can talk longer. And
Bronco one's cool though. That's my favorite one. Just the O.J. Simpson birthday thing. That's my favorite thing. Right
yeah.
It was a very hot topic across a lot of social media platforms for a good minute because, I mean, that's to quite literally have negative publicity and actually negative publicity as well. And you release your highly anticipated vehicle on the date of that person who gave you negative publicity. You're kind of asking for it at that point.
Well, so when I had that Forest Service Bronco for whatever, how long that was, a month or so.
You had a Bronco?
Yeah, that's a long story we're not going to talk about right now. Every time I need to go buy parts for it. Oh, is that one of those OJ Broncos? I heard that at every parts store I went to. Yeah.
Did you say yes?
Yes, I did.
There we go. That's all that matters.
Yeah. But the nice thing though is we did kind of blow through that a little bit. We have tons and tons of user feedback or viewer feedback. That's the right word.
I actually want to get back to on the Polestar, which was one of the notes. It's going to come with 2 different engine options, at least, which is going to be a 2-liter turbo and then a supercharged 4-cylinder. We're not sure if it's going to be the same engine, if it's still going to be the 2-liter displacement. But it's really interesting to see a company producing a vehicle with both options for forced induction.
So the previous generation of Polestar packaged cars, you could get a twin charged vehicle. I believe it was the same 2-liter because it will be the same engine injection because Volvo is only offering one engine for all their vehicles. You have NA, a turbocharged or a twin charged system. From my understanding, it was all based off the same engine.
Well, there we go.
That's pretty cool.
Which is sad that we're losing 5 cylinders and V8 Volvos because those were the glory days. But
5 cylinders, oh god.
Yeah.
Hey, Audi still has one.
Audi does. There's no one else. Who does?
Isn't it their RS3, right?
The RS3 has one.
And the TTRS is also the 5-cylinder.
Oh yeah.
I don't think anyone else is making a 5-cylinder right now that I'm aware of. I presume people like Kubota, like heavy industry manufacturers are.
Probably.
Yeah. But yeah. So this topic, which got tons of viewer feedback or viewer engagement, which is the worst experience working on a car. And that's why I have asked my 2 friends to be here because all of my stories involve them. If they weren't involved, they'd probably be significantly better car stories. So thanks, guys.
But we're here to make sure people understand your position here, Zach.
Get some more insights to the shit show that I live.
People will go, oh, he fixed a Porsche on the side of the road before he was going up to Park City. The owner said, stop calling me, you fixed it. And we're gonna give you some stories that makes you wonder how someone actually still trusts him.
Yeah. Nice thing, Ryan. Ryan was supposed to be here, but he declined my last 2 phone calls, and so he will not be part of this. But
on the podcast at one point in time, though.
Yeah. So, do you guys want to start? I'll let you guys start, and I'm prepared for the beration.
Yeah, I've got quite a few of them. Do I just want to start because a lot of them involve one or the other or both of you?
Yeah, I think you have the list, so I'll let you start.
So it's hold on, it's strictly like working on a car, correct? Like worst experience you've had working on it, or just worst experience with a car in general?
Working
on it. If you have a really good story about a bad car, we'll listen to it. I think there's a couple of those in.
Yeah, I don't have any.
Never ever.
No.
I've got plenty. That includes you as being the worst person to have performed mechanical work on a vehicle.
Me or him?
For Zach. Don't worry, we're gonna get there. So starting off, as soon as my display comes back up, there we go. So a personal one that actually doesn't include either of you. My brother had a 2007 Honda Accord base model. was the 4-cylinder. I think it was actually a K series automatic, and it ran. That was the biggest thing.
It ran.
Oh, whoa, okay.
With it,
Oh,
but
we need to give a hi to Sam. He's in the chat.
hey, is it Sam Babler or Sam? Oh, Goebel.
It is our resident cocaine addict, Sam Goebel.
Oh, we can even talk about his Miata. Hold
Oh
on.
shit! Yeah, we can.
Let me add that to mine. Sam? Yeah, okay. Anyway, so my brother had that Accord, and my brother's 2 years older than me. We both did a semester of automotive tech in high school, and he said he wanted his oil change done. I said, I don't want to do it. You can do it yourself. He said, fine. He went and took it to Fabulous Freddy's, a little car shop it's a gas station that also does quick lube services.
Car washes. Don't forget the car washes, yo.
And soft serve ice cream.
Ice cream. So he took it to them. He got it back $40 later. He still had the check engine light, which the mid to late 2000s Hondas are known for having. It has a little wrench, and it's the indication for saying your oil change needs to be done. He had the oil change done, and then he got really upset because he wasn't sure if they actually did it or not now, because he thought it was an automatic sensor of some sort. And I was like, trust me, as soon as that oil goes in and you start it up after the first all the oil is black. So he thought he just didn't have enough oil in it. So he put in more oil.
I've heard this story before.
And
When I was with Taylor.
Where have I heard this?
and he started it up, and that light was still there. So he decided he needed more oil. And finally, he came in and talked to myself and my stepdad. And by the time, at this point, I was 18. Yeah, I would have been 18. Still didn't know jack shit about cars. We put him underneath the car with jack stands and said, drain the oil. We'll just do a full oil change ourselves. Drain the oil. So we tossed out one of the 7-quart oil pans or whatever it is. Just the cheap plastic ones from AutoZone. Tossed that underneath the car with him. Gave him a 17 millimeter wrench. Cracked off the drain plug. And after about 30 seconds, he starts screaming. We're sitting there, we go, what the hell are you doing? I peek underneath, and the entire pan is full of oil, and it's still coming out at a very rapid pace. He had put in an entire 5-quart bottle of oil on top of the oil change that he had already received, which put it at about 10 quarts of oil inside the engine. And he drained the entire thing. We had to get another container so that way it would hold it. And then he took about an hour to get the oil filter off because he just kept trying to stab it with a screwdriver instead of using the hammer that was right next to him. After that, we've decided we're never going to let my brother work on a car by himself ever again.
There was the time that I took his, I think you heard the story, maybe not. I had his Solstice, I think because he was going to let me take it for a car wash. And of course, I picked up a friend while I had it too, because I was like, want to go ride in the Solstice? And I went, I think I did donuts in it or something. I can't remember what I did. I can't remember what I did, but it was at Union Middle School.
You were just driving, and you later admitted that you did try and do a donut about 15 seconds before, and then I checked in.
Yeah. And so it was like it starts like misfiring and it's like not running right. So I pull off, and this dude and this kid and this dad come in like, this is a really nice car. They think it's like some European exotic, which technically is a European car.
Except that it's a manual base model, naturally aspirated 2.3 liter Solstice.
Yeah.
It's not even a turbo model.
And apparently when I was washing it, I had sprayed one of the clips off of the coil pack. And so I had to reattach it and zip tie it back onto the coil in this dude's driveway. As they're like, this is a really cool car. This is really nice. What does one of these run for? Yeah. So that wasn't that good of a story, but it reminded me of.
Well, don't worry. We've got a couple more of them, including one from Andrew. Andrew Jolly, Zach's IJ Wrangler.
Oh, that one. He
We don't talk
has
about
he,
that
yeah,
thing.
he has to have at least 3 stories about that.
My favorite
All the
one.
same thing.
When, you came to pick Andrew and I up, and we were going to go out to RMR. We ended up getting stopped on the interchange to the 215 westbound from I-15. Stopped on the side of the road because you were fuel starving, and I put a lock around your shifter.
And it was like one of those big round locks that you get for like storage units and stuff.
And so I put that on it. I locked it. You got in the car. You were already kind of stressed. Then you got pissed off when you realized what we did. You weren't sure which one. I'm pretty sure you knew it was me. And when you
I gotta tell this part because so I get in. I'm fuming because I'm on the side of an interchange. Cars passing me. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with my Jeep. It's been broken like this for months. I have no idea what's going on. And we were trying to go to RMR. We couldn't get there because my Jeep was broken. And so I come back in. There's this lock around my shifter. And I turned to Jackson and Andrew because I think they were both sitting in the back seat for some reason. Were you guys both sitting in the back seat? Were you guys?
I was passenger. Andrew was in the back, but he was kind of sitting forward, and we were basically shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, where's the key? And they both kind of smiled at me and did, ooh. I'm like, where the fuck's the key? And they're like, ooh. I try to go, where the fuck is the goddamn key? And that key appeared out of nowhere so quickly. I unlocked it, and I just fucking hucked it. Just threw it with the key in it still. And every time I drive past that interchange, I'm like, there's a lock somewhere out there.
One day and go, I wonder what the story behind this is.
The story that I thought he should tell, because there's 2 of them, is the fuel starving issue. I always thought the fuel starving issue was a fuel pump issue. And so I burned through, and it ultimately kind of was, but I burned through probably 5 or 6 inline fuel pumps from AutoZone, which I just kept returning and getting new ones.
Did you just buy the wrong one? I never really understood that. What happened?
I'll get back to that. I'll tell you how I broke or how I fixed it later. But and so originally the Jeep has a inline pump in the tank, and there's no access hatch because it's an American car, so you have to drop the tank. And so we were at Jackson's house, and we thought it was going to take like a 2-hour job, and so Jackson was kind of helping us.
I'd like to set the stage. The driveway to my mom's house.
Yes.
Remember that. This is number 1. Continue on, Zach.
And we're trying to drop the tank, and it has those big straps to undo and then lower down. It's a whole ordeal. And because we were going to take the pump out and put a hose in place so we could use the pickup still and suck up from the so we just use an inline pump so we didn't have to keep changing or dropping the tank. Which I ended up having to drop again another time. And so we do all that work.
That was number 2.
Yeah. So we do all this work, and it's now like 11 o'clock that we're getting the tank back in. Jackson's like, I need to work in like 8 hours. I'm going to go to bed.
Fuck.
You guys welcome to the garage. Just close it when you're done. And so we get everything bolted back in, and we go to prime the pump. Well, it's not priming. And we're sitting there like, why isn't it? Why aren't we getting fuel at the little tube for the carburetor? What the fuck? And so we tried this for a little while, and then I realized this isn't a self-priming pump. We need to get gas to the pump. And we're sitting there, and we're both just like, how I don't want to suck on the tube to get gas in it because it's going to get in my mouth. And so we're like arguing who should do it for like 30 minutes. And we're like, we don't know how to fucking do this. We don't know how to fucking do this. And then Andrew came up with the idea. He was the genius one, which was, the tank is sealed, right? Why don't we just take the other hose off, like one of the return lines, and blow into that? And it will pressurize the tank enough that it will push gas up into the pump. And it fucking worked. The second time is when I had to drop the tank a second time. And I didn't have a floor jack. All I had was a bottle jack. So we used that in a piece of wood to hold it, to unbolt it, and then we lifted it down. That was another not fun day. But how we ended up fixing that Jeep was, it was never actually a fuel pump issue. It was the fuel regulator failed. And it was one of those like about this big-ish. and the diaphragm had some air in it, so you could you adjust the spring or something for how much pressure or some shit. And that spring had got full of mud, and so it was fully closed. It was never opening enough to let fuel to the carb, so it was always just looping fuel back into the tank. What I did was I took the line off the regulator and put straight into the carburetor. So I got all of the gas coming out of the pump into the carburetor.
All 7 PSI, baby.
Yep. And then I blew up the engine 4 hours later.
Oh, that's because it was a 350 with an NV trans. So, yeah. Another time I would like to point out.
Oh God.
As you can see.
Will you please send that to me so I can have Mike make that the photo?
So that's Zach wearing a welding mask in my mom's driveway. That's number 3 we're going to talk about.
Oh God!
I was using
What did you do? Did you run into something and then the bumper broke off?
That happened a lot of times.
So he decided my driveway was going to use a shitty Harbor Freight welder
and weld
the tabs back on. The date this was taken.
What, 2017, 2016?
September of 2016.
Yeah.
That was the start to the shit show that has become our lives.
Will you please send that photo to me so I can have Mike make it the thing?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, that was, and those tabs never broke. They rusted, but they never broke.
What about that time where, what about when I ran it into a snowbank in the 4Runner?
You never told me about this, did you?
Is that when he was out of town or when he was?
When he was out of town, I was driving it. I was pulling in a K1. I left it in 2-wheel drive and I powered over. And I was just kind of sideways and I ran into a snowbank at probably 2 miles an hour. And packed it all against right in their middle lane. They just packed all of the snow from the parking lot in there. And so I tapped it and I pulled back and I walked out and looked at it. I was like, I don't know if that was already fucked up or not. I was more worried about the battery, which was leaking acid from sitting in your
No. It was an AGM battery. So it didn't have any fluid in it.
Was leaking jelly.
Because I didn't know what a battery tie-down strap was. And so it
How many times were you going on trails and you had coming out from underneath your hood?
Yeah, every time I hit a bump, I would see the radio would die. The truck wouldn't die, but the radio would die. I would see sparks coming out of the gap in the hood. Yeah, that was great.
Jesus. Wait, I remember when that happened, actually. When we were
Racing
on that one. No, not even then. When we were on that canyon where you guys took the Datsun or whatever, I don't know where, over behind, no, whatever it is. I remember Lord's over here, he's driving and he's like, oh, there's sparks coming from the engine bay. So we had to pull over and we had to mess with more crap, like always, with every vehicle he's owned.
Then I guess that one's not really a working on car story. I was going to say the other time where I had to come and save your ass in your Grand Cherokee.
Oh, yeah. I told that story recently on this podcast.
Now, one that does include Taylor. Hey, Taylor, do you remember doing the oil change on your Mazda 3 in my mom's driveway? That's number 4, guys.
It wasn't your mom's driveway. It was the
parking lot. My mom's garage.
Wait, no oil change in the Mazda 3?
Yep.
Oh, I remember that too.
I don't remember that one.
Did it?
That one I don't remember.
You started yelling and saying, I've got it, and Zach was trying to take over from you, and you spilled about half of the container down the
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he was pouring it wrong. He was pouring it like this, not like this.
Oh, yeah, I just went in at it, and I blocked some of those car stories out of my mind.
Don't worry, because I've got more. Hey, Zach, do you remember that time when Taylor put oil in his shit Vic?
How many times are we going to talk about this story on this thing?
We've told this story at least 4 times on this podcast now.
I have a video of the smoke screen, and then...
Send it to me. I want that video.
Yeah, play it for the webcam, because I think we have some viewers. We have 7 people watching right now. You got to play it for them.
Off the YouTube. I'll find it. Continuing on that, the oil cap for Taylor's Fiat 500 when he went to RMR and he...
Oh, that was funny. That was funny as hell.
So Zach and I had to go to the nearest O'Reilly's because it turns out the oil cap for my Honda Accord, my 1990 Accord, was the same thread pitch as Taylor's. So I gave him mine out of my Accord so that way he can run the car. And then Zach and I left from RMR while Taylor was going through tech.
Was it the same day that when we left, we raced to who could get the shotgun and you beat me with Andrew? No.
Different day because
no, that was the same day the Jeep I threw the lock.
Huh?
Yeah, because we were in his Andrews the same day I threw the lock. Yeah.
I was gonna say because you had your Subaru because we checked your Subaru oil cap that didn't fit. We checked the Hondas and it fit. So Zach and I went to O'Reilly's, found an oil cap for my car because they didn't have one specific for a Fiat. Went back, gave Taylor the new one, took my oil cap back, and he finished off the night running that. There's also the shins on your Fiat 500.
What did I run?
Yeah.
I think I'd let off literally right at the end, and it was like a 15 something because the clutch was sticking to the floor when I got into second, third, and fourth gear. So, what was that?
This was in your 500 at bar.
Yep, only car I ever ran on the track.
Which Jackson and I both have ran cars on the drag strip.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yep. I have video of that.
Following the shifter bushings off of Taylor's Fiat 500 because they just themselves, and I zip tied them together. I zip tied the outer ring to the actual nub of the shifter inputs on the trans. That was fun. Taylor made it down the street to Big O, and then they fixed it properly.
A week later.
Sam says there's a crack in his engine block.
Yikes.
Oh no. We're going to talk about that, Sam.
Sam, call Jackson on a group call after we're done with this.
Hey, Zach, what about the time you did the water pump in the Ford Ranger?
Oh, God, no. I blocked that one out. Oh, God.
In my mom's driveway.
So that's a horror story for me.
Yeah.
I had a shit box that I bought from a friend Xander. 85 Ford Ranger, the last of the carbureted Rangers. And I can't remember where I was going. I was probably going to go buy vape juice underage because that was what I was doing at that time. And I was coming back and it was overheating. And so I stopped to get gas because I need gas as well too. And it was just pouring coolant out of the engine bay. And it was coming from the weep hole. And I'm like, oh shit, time to put a new water pump on. And so I at the time I didn't have my shop and my mom wasn't letting me do work in her garage because HOA things. So all of my car work was done in Jackson's mom's driveway. And I'm like, oh, a water pump will take, I don't know, 4 hours maybe. And I did it completely wrong. Like I didn't remove the fan off the water pump first. And so I had to go, I ended up destroying the fender of the truck by trying to do it on the fender, and it never worked. I can't remember how I got it off, but I think we put it in the vise and you helped me hold it or something.
I had a giant pair of pliers, and then I think
no, those are my giant pair of pliers.
Yeah, and then I think you went to Pep Boys and tried to get a socket set.
No, it would have been a wrench set because you have to put it on and hold it and crack it. Maybe I did that. I can't remember what happened. But and so as I was taking out the water pump, I broke 2 bolts. I broke 2 bottom bolts next to each other. Maybe that's why that car overheated, because maybe the water pump never spun because I put too much RTV in there. Because I remember I tapped and dyed the holes, and they were crooked. They were like this. They were like at angles and stuff, and so it was pretty bad. And then I RTV'd the whole thing like 4 or 5 times and RTV'd around it. Oh, it was so bad. Yeah, and then I remember I drove that truck without a hood for like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yep,
I remember that.
All right, I've got a little video. You can watch the stream. Well, today we have it live for anyone, which is why Daxton's watching, by the way. But if you're part of the Patreon, $5, and you can get it at any point in time. No, that's a Z. That's a broken car. So.
Don't show this. Please don't show this.
There's Taylor in his little ship.
That's smoke pouring out the back.
He's revving it to maybe about 2,200, and that's just pure smoke in the back. Yeah. Zach ended up pulling out probably about 3 quarts of oil.
And I burned myself.
A quarter mile to the street, across the street from my mom's house. That one wasn't in my driveway.
Hey, just saying, even though it was overfilled, it still ran like an awesome car.
Mike wants to add, he's amazed that 2020 Zach is still in one piece.
Honestly, I think we all are.
That's probably true.
We constantly say, like, if you would have told me in 2016 that I would have been friends with Zach, Zach would be in like the cars that he's been in. Zach would be the person who he is. I would have told you to fuck the fuck right off, because I would have believed you. And here we are.
Yeah, I think this photo explains all that very well.
Yeah. Let's see if my monitor wants to come back. Hello.
You're still dying.
Different monitor, but yes. How about the clutch on that Subaru Forester we did like a month ago, Zach?
Oh God. We did. I had a customer car come in, and this kid claimed he never raced it, never drove it aggressively. It was just his daily driver Subaru, and I got paid way too little to do it. I think I paid like $350 to do this clutch. It was not enough for that job.
I think the contact was trying to tell you $250, and I think you agreed on $3.
Yeah. It took me 2 days. The clutch came out with just the metal piece, the metal frame, and all of the padding material, the fibers, were embedded in literally every part of the transmission and bell housing.
But you didn't get to the important part. So it was in your shop. You had a lift.
I didn't have a trans jack.
Huh?
I didn't have a trans jack.
But you thought it was a great idea to pull the trans on a Subaru instead of just pulling the engine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Following that, let's talk about my Honda Accord that was done in your mom's garage.
This sounds great.
Hold on. Let me set the stage here.
All right.
So I had moved out of my mom's house. My mom was out of town so normally when your parents go out of town, you throw a party at their house. Not us. We don't do that. She was out of town for like a week or something. I think she was in like fucking Canada maybe or some shit.
Probably.
And so we thought it would be a good idea to do Jackson's Honda's clutch in there. Right? And she'll never know. We'll just clean it up. She'll never have any idea that we did anything in her garage.
6 hours later.
No, it was a lot more than 6 hours. We were there for a very long time.
6 hours, and we had the wheels off, and we're fighting the lower control arms. Then we went to Transmission City and asked them for...
Mark said fuck off.
Yeah, we asked them just for like advice while we were there. And basically they said, well, when you screw it up, just come and bring it into us.
This is before we knew them very well. And
so we went back, and I think it did span 2 days, right, Zach?
Yeah, because we had to rush the next morning to finish. I think you left. I think you left the house at like. No, I wasn't living there, was I?
I believe so.
Was I really?
No, you wouldn't. No, you weren't. You wouldn't have been.
No, was I in the 4Runner or not?
You were in the 4Runner because the 4Runner was at Transmission City.
Yes, so I was still living at my mom's house.
Okay.
Because I crashed my 4Runner and then moved here 2 weeks later.
That was after you crashed? I thought it was before for some reason.
It was like literally 2 weeks. I had no car when I moved out.
Oh.
Yeah, so because my car was there. So did we walk to Transmission City? We must have. Because I remember we got an Uber from my mom's house to your house.
Yes, and we decided we would just walk.
No, your brother-in-law drove us back.
Oh, yeah, we were in my sister's Explorer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was fun. That car's basically dead now, so we don't have to worry about it. That car ended up dumping like 6 quarts of power steering fluid onto the mechanic who ended up doing it. It also took him 3 months to do the clutch in a 1990 Honda Accord with all the right tools.
Yeah, also we hyperextended a CV.
Oh yeah, we actually ripped the CV out of the cup and all the bearings came out, and we repacked it. And I'm pretty sure Taylor's hair and hat and Zach's hair and hat were completely covered in grease.
Yes.
Yep, I remember that. That was not a fun time.
All of that. Oh, speaking of bearings, hey Taylor, remember your shit Vic?
I have photos.
I already know how this story is going to go.
I have photos.
Yes, I do remember that.
So Taylor, what was it, like a 93? No,
It was a 95, so before it went OBD2.
95 coupe, right?
Yep, EX.
95 EX coupe Honda.
Was that before or after we stole that truck? Can't remember.
Allegedly, that was before.
Okay.
Don't worry, the truck is also on here.
Is it really?
Yes. So Taylor's shit Vic, we called it a shit Vic for a reason. There was no key. The actual locking mechanism was broken off, and it just had the plastic part, which has the T in it, and you can start it with anything. I can rotate that.
Oh, here's a video of us doing something on that Honda.
Oh, no.
Cutting the exhaust off,
No, I don't know, just a video of.
which is the start of 2JZ exhaust. Oh,
What were we doing to that car?
I think it
Everything.
was the valve cover gasket.
We never did that on that car. The only gasket that was ever replaced was the VTEC solenoid, which I can talk about that after this.
Oh, remember? You guys remember this shit show?
that thing was pissing oil out of the solenoid, right? Oh yeah, when
Oh, God.
Your bench was clean.
So Jackson, carry on. Let's
Yeah,
do
sorry.
this.
No, that was the same weekend we did my water pump.
Taylor Shipvick, it literally ran. It barely had anything else after that. It, we think it could hit VTEC. We weren't sure still.
Oh, it definitely did.
Anyway, so Taylor finally was getting rid of it. He was getting his Fiat 500 at Barth, and it had to be in the dealership in 2 days because Taylor was getting the car and he was trading in the Shipvick. So he pulls up to my house, my mom's garage, story 6, taking place at my mom's residence.
Christina, did you get the memes from Christina?
Videos from Christina?
No, memes. Memes.
Oh, no, haven't yet.
This looks like Taylor.
No. So he comes in and we're like, all right, we'll throw a new bearing in. We've never done one before. We have spanners and sockets. That's about it.
They were all my tools too, which means most of them were missing.
Oh yeah. So we pull the wheel off. I pull off the caliper bracket. I'm like,
No,
all right.
I remember what happened because you guys were mad at me at that time. You guys didn't want to hang out with me or something. Because this was like 3 weeks.
No, you were there. You were there.
No. This was 3 or 4 weeks after. What was that?
Zach showed up later. You
Yeah,
and I started working on it.
You guys were mad at me, and I remember you guys hyperextended the CV the same way you did with Jackson's, and you called me because it was broken, and I was like, "You guys are mad at me. You want me to still come fix your shit for you guys?"
Which Zach ended up fixing the shit and saved me like $160 because Taylor didn't have the money to pay for the axle, so I was just gonna buy it so I could get the piece of shit out of my mom's garage.
And I remember at that point, you guys had the bearing in like basically crooked, and I had to fix that too.
I was told to just put the wood on it and hammer away, and that's what I did.
So we finally get the wheel and brake disc off, and so we have everything off. Break the CV axle nut loose. I think we did that after the fact because I'm pretty sure I fucked up and forgot about the axle nut. So finally get the hub out, and we try for hours beating the old bearing out. Finally get it out. Try putting the new one in.
Because we had Andrew's propane torch.
Yep.
Which was just a natural gas torch, so it wasn't hot enough to do anything.
Yeah. So the bearing, which sits about that size, yeah, about there. It was in probably at about 20 degrees from being level. And Zach finally shows up, helps us out, and we are beating the shit out of a piece of wood that we were holding on top of the bearing to try and press it in. Eventually, we get it in enough. So we put the hub back on the lower control arm, get the CV axle to fit in through the splines, and We get the nut started, and we just tighten it the rest of the way in. We don't give a shit. This car has to make it down to, where is it, Taylor? Orem?
Orem.
Has to make it down to Orem from Sandy. And that's it. That's basically all we cared about. So,
And the day prior to that, is when the wheel bearing actually went out.
oh, yeah.
The original. I was on the highway, I think, pointed the mountain, just going down. And I knew the wheel bearing was bad. I didn't know it was that bad, though. But it completely shit itself. It grenaded itself.
Then I go to put the brake caliper back on. I don't think either of you are remembering what happened when I tried to.
I do.
I don't.
On the brakes because I told them to. And
did you hyperextend the
piston popped out from the sleeve of the caliper. So I'm sitting there covered in brake fluid, pissed off. It's in my mom's garage, which, again, this is the sixth story that I can just recall where it was done in my mom's driveway or garage. And I'm pissed off now, covered in brake fluid. I'm trying to get this thing out because my mom was like out of town, coming back from California like the next day.
Let's go. Go lay down.
Get a pick, or I think it was actually a screwdriver, and put the piston back in around the rubber sleeve, and we bled that corner only. Taylor went and dropped it off at the dealership in Orem the next day. We didn't care anymore.
Nope.
It was gone.
Hey, I got $200 for it, so with no title, no keys, no way to lock it, and the muffler in the trunk.
Zach, do you want to talk about towing Andrew Jolly's Volkswagen Passat out of a canyon?
I may have told this story before. I can't remember on the podcast. You and I were hanging out doing something. I think we were talking about maybe going off-roading or something. And we got a call from Andrew. He was like, hey, my Passat just broke down at the top of Draper Mountain.
Yeah.
It's at the very, very top of it. And we're like, oh, okay, well, we'll go up there and we'll see if we can help you out. We go up there and it's very clearly like a failed fuel pump. And we're like, we're not going to be able to tow this down tonight. There's no way it's going to happen. And so I remember squeezing you, me, Andrew, and Lexi into your Honda Accord, which was never that clean to begin with.
No.
And driving all the way back, it's a two-door Accord, by the way, as well, too. That needs to be stated. Driving back down. And the next morning, Andrew and I went and got lunch or something together to discuss how we're going to tow it down. And how we ended up towing it was, we're like, there's no way in hell we're going to be able to rope tow it the normal way because the Passat's not going to have enough brakes to slow down itself and the rope to come down for the entire way down the mountain.
Which Zach was done with his 350 swapped YJ Wrangler.
No, we ended up using his Explorer.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so we ended up swapping. So we put the broken car in front, attached the rear link to the link of the Explorer, and we let gravity pull it down, and we used the brakes on the Explorer to slow it down, which was a great idea until we hit a flat spot and we ran out of momentum to keep going down. And by the way, I'm in the Passat with no power brakes, no power steering.
So just your prayers?
With attached to a rope to an Explorer. And if this rope broke, I might just die. Like I don't know how I'm going to fix this. And we got the weirdest looks. It looked like this Passat was towing this Explorer down the mountain. Yeah, that was a stressful time.
Let's see. We'll try and go through the next ones pretty quick because I realize we've been live for an hour on YouTube.
Yeah, we do this for an hour and a half, so we got another 30 minutes.
Well, we still have a lot of just users.
Yes.
Yeah. So Toyota pickup, which Zach had mentioned earlier about being stolen.
We may have stolen it.
Allegedly. Basically, it's like 3 a.m. I call Zach and I say, "Hey, let's get it."
No, I was there. I was at Sunset.
Yeah, you drove us there.
Yeah, was I in the Jeep? Yeah, well, I had been the Jeep. Yeah.
And we contacted a associate of ours, and we're like, "Hey, we need space to put this truck, but we're getting it for free." He says, "Great, bring it to us in it's like off of 114th South."
like in the back corner of Lake Draper.
Yeah, it's off of probably about 7,000 South and State Street. So we tow it by wrapping a rope around that front bumper. As soon as we got to the underpass on State Street, where the tracks goes overhead, just south of probably about 7,600 South, I was not on my brakes in the pickup, and so Zach was leading, and there was a whole bunch of slack now.
And so I saw this in my rearview mirror, and I'm like, oh shit, I need to pull this slack. So Jackson hit the brakes at the same time I hit the gas.
And so now we got just exponentially different forces going on. The brakes lock up because it's actually disc brakes. The brakes lock up, and Zach is pulling, and it tears off the front bumper, and it goes spinning across all the lanes, and I'm still rolling at this point now. I'm like, oh.
So from my perspective, I watched it break off. I watched it start spinning like 360, and it goes underneath the Jackson's truck, and there's sparks showering everywhere. And I'm like, I have just killed my best friend Jackson.
Because it was steel, 2-inch by 2-inch angle iron. That's what that front bumper was.
Yeah.
And it had one bolt on each side going into the frames. And it was like a 76 pickup.
I think my favorite memory of with this associate was he had a right-hand drive S13, and him driving back down the road the wrong direction, grabbing the bumper out his window, and driving back to us with the bumper.
Yeah. All right, next one. Let's talk about Datsuns for a second, Zach.
Which ones?
We're going to talk about mine.
Okay.
And
was this the story that I brought up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not familiar, or I picked up my 521 from Travis Davis.
I'm going to pull up photos because I have photos of this night.
521 father, because he's had like 6 of them in Utah, and he keeps track of where all of them are, and he knows basically where all the registered ones in Utah are. So I pick it up from him, and I decide I want to start. What was I messing with, Zach?
I don't remember. Also, do you know what lights are on?
Oh, the taillights, which were either on or off or just killed the battery. I think we wanted to just clean the car because I had just gotten it. And I was like, yeah, why don't we try and figure out why it doesn't idle? There's very many reasons why. Nice. Many reasons why it didn't idle properly. Anyway, I get to the point where I'm pulling off the intake manifold. It's an L16. If anyone knows anything about the Datsun L series, the exhaust and intake ports are on the same side. Stock manifolds are also coolant filled. I pulled the intake manifold off, and I have now dumped a couple ounces of coolant into all of the intake valves.
Yeah, I have photos right here showing the intakes and the exhausts.
And about 6 hours after that, we tried to start it back up, and I hadn't pulled the spark plugs like Zach told me to.
Oh.
And so we sat there and we just kept trying the starter, and we couldn't figure out why it wasn't even trying anymore. We could hear the solenoid opening, and what it was doing was catching the teeth on the flywheel and trying to rotate, but it was basically trying to hydro-lock itself. I don't know how we honestly got out of there without blowing a seal. Maybe lack of compression? That would be... I guess that would be an explanation.
It just leaked past the cylinder, the rings.
Yeah. Past the rings, which means we probably should have done an oil change, or past the valve seals.
So it's just all sitting at the top of the head.
Yeah.
The valve train.
Note to self, be prepared to pull spark plugs on any L series when you're going to pull the intake manifold off, unless it has...
Or drain all the coolant.
Or drain all the coolant, but there's still going to be coolant in the manifold. Or block off those passages because they've been known not to do anything. Hooray, hindsight. Following that, hey, Zach, do you want to talk about the distributor from the Willies?
No. That almost ended our friendship.
Oh, shit.
Quite literally, that almost ended our friendship.
It literally did. I was getting paid to work for a mechanic. Getting paid is a very rough term right now.
Mechanic is also a rough term.
I'm still not a mechanic now. I definitely wasn't one there.
Yeah.
And I was getting paid to work on this Jeep. And I think I can't remember why we had to fuck with the distributor, or maybe put new spark plugs in or something. I can't remember why we had fucked with it.
Oh, it was a brand new one.
I don't remember it being brand new though.
Because I know the carb was brand new.
Yeah, I don't think we put a distributor on it.
Well, either way, we fucked with the distributor.
No, it was new. It was new plug wires.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so Jackson came over that day to help me out because he was also doing some light work for the same company.
I was supposed to have actually worked with Zach for this project, but Zach ended up just kind of taking it for himself.
Yeah, I'm an asshole.
One of the reasons why this almost ended our friendship. It
Yeah.
was both directions, me being like, we're supposed to work on this together, and you're being an asshole, not saying, I want to try and like make a name for myself with these guys so that way I can like make money. And both of us basically battling heads without actually talking to each other.
Yeah, and so we were going through and we were putting the plug wires on, and one of us had wrong information. Maybe I gave you the wrong information and you just ran with it, or maybe you looked it up and ran it yourself.
I could look it up again and I know exactly what happened.
Yeah, but basically we just wired it. We mirrored the firing order, and so
the difference of a 350 and 351, or is it 302 and 350?
I don't think it was a engine difference. I think we just did it wrong. I think we didn't realize which side was number one.
So I remember watching an episode of Roadkill. I think it was Roadkill Garage.
No. We had it backwards. It was not flipped this way. It was flipped front to rear because it was exactly opposite because it was firing on downstrokes. Or what?
It was through the intake.
Yeah, it was firing. Yeah, it was firing on open.
I remember I was like, oh no, I can find this video. And I spent probably about 4 hours scouring through YouTube videos trying to find it because I trust the guys from Roadkill. They do small block stuff all the time. I was like, yep, gonna listen to them. Couldn't find it. I was stressed. I wanted to find an answer for Zach. Googled 350 Chevy small block firing order. And it gave me a diagram that ended up having two separate lines that I chose not to read. It was a diagram for basically something that has the opposite firing order. I think it's for a Ford motor, old Ford V8. And it says for the Chevy, you put it in reverse. I didn't read that, and I didn't realize that. So I told Zach the orientation for a Ford motor, and it was firing through the intake. Zach spent over a day trying to figure out what was going on, and then called me and was pissed off and started yelling.
Yeah, I was like, you lost me a day worth of labor. They're not going to pay me for this. You're fucked up. And oh yeah, that was a nightmare. I don't think we talked for like 4 months after that.
Jesus Christ.
Basically, we only talked when we had to at that point.
Yeah, because and granted, those employers were pit us against each other, being like, "Oh, Zach showed up on time today. Why didn't you show up on time today?" They did shit like that on a regular basis.
I'm trying to think of who that is.
Completed projects that were asked for today, and where are you, Zach? And Zach's like, I'm waiting on your ass to do something. And yeah, it was basically a even shittier version of a shitty shop.
Yeah. What else do we have left on this?
Last one's Sam's Miata.
I just want to tell the starter story.
Okay.
Yeah. Sam Goebel, who's been who's been a fan for a while now. He had
addict.
Was that a
Resident
cocaine addict?
Addict of YouTube Live.
Yeah. Him and Jackson have been working on doing the swap as a 1.6 to 1.8 swap for a while now. Yeah. And it was the last day before, it was supposed to be running that day, and they couldn't figure it out, and so they ended up calling me the next day, like, hey, can you come take a look at this? And it wasn't starting. It would make a horrendous noise when it was cranking, and they thought maybe the flywheel was on wrong or on backwards or something stupid like that, which we could talk about backward flywheels another day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, or flex plates, but and so I ended up just being like, why don't you just put the old starter from the original 1.6? They're like, no, that won't work. It won't work. And I'm like, try it.
Actually, Sam was saying it's the exact same one. It's the same starter. The part numbers are the same.
Yeah, so that's why they didn't want to swap back, because it was like, it should work. It's literally the exact same starter. Why won't it work?
And it's
I'm
kind
like,
of under the intake manifold, so it would have been a bitch to really get at.
yeah.
And so we're like, well, it should be the same. It's supposedly the same part number. It was the one that came on the motor when Sam picked it up from our running vehicle. Like we were fine with that one.
And I had convinced them just to swap it out, and I think it took them probably maybe 2 hours to swap. And I was sitting there just bullshitting with Sam's girlfriend, and they finally put it in, and they hit the start button, and it fired basically instantly. And I have never watched a grown man cry.
I have video of it starting the first time too.
Yeah, and he literally just like stopped talking for like 15 minutes. It was so happy to see Sam have his car back up and running.
Basically started up first shot. Everything else was just fine. We had just done the swap that we had no idea what we were doing for. And hold on. There we go. To have his Miata running after over a year of it being down. And I completely understand that. My Z's been down for a year and a half now. And
has my Subaru ever ran?
Not right.
Well, all right. Do either of you have stories that you want to bring up?
I've told most of mine.
I just have the VTEC solenoid on the Shivik. That's about all I've got that I can think of.
I remember when that failed, and I had to take the 521 from Matsuri to go save your ass. Which isn't that?
No, it was at Matsuri. It was at Matsuri.
Yeah, no. It broke down before, and then the Datsun ran out of gas.
Yeah, okay, I remember that. So I don't remember exactly how that one went down, but I do know we were sitting at Matsuri, and I popped the hood of the Civic for some reason, and there was just oil spewing everywhere.
It was literally squirting because he left it running.
Found out that it was the VTEC solenoid, and prior to that, I had no idea why it was eating oil. I would drive to, I think I was working at Vivint, so I was driving to Provo every day, Monday through Friday, and going there, it would take, I don't know, a quart of oil. Light would turn on, so I'd stop at the gas station, buy a quart, fill it up, drive to work. Going home, it took 2. So I'd put 2 in before leaving work, and then I would drive home. Well, at Matsuri, found out what it was and fixed that for like $3 because it was 2 bolts. And that's about the worst experience I had. I think I spent probably close to $100 in oil just in the week. It was bad. I was pissed.
Yeah.
We've all been there and saying like, I'm not sure what this oil issue is. I'm going to leave it without actually figuring out what's wrong with it because I can get by. And then you find out what it is and you go, God damn it.
Well,
$3 fix.
We have a lot of entries here. So I'm just going to get started. Here's one from Will. I'm going to fucking zoom this shit in so I can read it.
Okay, I have the one from Cam Auto Magazine. You want me to read those ones and you'll get all the other pages?
Yeah, so let me start with Will's. So William Jessup, a good friend of mine, Tesla Will as we know him. His worst experience for him was welding a nut inside the lower control arm on his Delica Star Wagon. They were so rusted that they broke off inside of the hollow assembly. To get to, we have stories about broken bolts inside of places you can't get to.
Another time.
Yeah. They broke off inside of a hollow assembly. To get the front strut installed, I had to buy a small hole saw, cut a hole in the bottom to fasten my own nut to get some bolts. Lots of rust on that rig.
One from Joey, a longtime friend of the program. Great man. Of course, it's about a Honda Civic, as we all have stories about a Honda Civic.
We're going to have more soon.
Joey says, so for many Honda Civics, the bolt that holds the strut to the hub on the rear lower control arms has a little groove in them. It was designed so that way it would more or less fit in place. It would kind of like expand, almost tapered. Let's see. These grooves like to collect water and rust, meaning the bolt breaks when you go to install some sweet new suspension on your car. You know, nothing like $40 coilovers from eBay. You have two choices when you do this. You can install newer, or you can install new lower control arms. That's why everyone on every Honda page has aftermarket ones, as Joey's pointed out, where you can drill the bolt out. He says, I was in high school auto shop when I decided to install lowering springs on my Civic, and just as the teacher predicted, the bolt snaps. And being a high school age Target employee making an earth-shattering $8 an hour, to resolve this problem with 14 hours of drilling that shit out. That wasn't the bad part. I'm quite well equipped for manual labor, and we had it up on a hoist, so just lean into the drill and wait. What this did become, however, was my first experience with every mechanic is the best mechanic. You see, the hole that needs to be drilled out is a steel sleeve, of course, sitting inside the rubber bushing. And when this presented with extreme heat, the rubber does this weird thing where it melts. Yet somehow, every 5 to 10 minutes, another fellow adolescent would walk up and say the magical phrase, what you need is some fire. And that is the story of how I began dying inside. It also says, we lubricated the hole, obligatory giggity, with a few cans of, I don't remember what, probably WD-40 every so often to avoid previously aforementioned heat. So he did it the right way.
Yeah. I have one here from Derek Edgington. I just did my CV axles on my Mercedes today. The axle got stuck in the trans. When I finally pulled it out, a heavy, nasty, goopy grease instantly coated everything in a 2-block radius on the ground zero. 3 showers later, I'm still a mess. Fun side quest, replacement axles in junkyards. Replacement axles is junk, so I have to do it all over again tomorrow. Ooh. Yeah, that sounds like fun.
So this one was on the post that I shared, and it was from Christina, and she said that stripping powder coating off of things is hands down the worst, using aircraft stripper, and that shit is no joke. It eats through latex gloves, so you have to use latex covered with a rubber dishwashing gloves, and you can't get any on you. It burns bad. Never had to deal with that, never want to.
We have.
In the YouTube chat, Sam came back from the dead and said Zach is a wizard and he fixed his car, and it is the same part. Damn it!
Damn.
Yeah. Sam, I don't think it is because it worked when we switched. Love you. Don't know what went wrong, but it worked when we switched. Following that, Madison Eskelson of Temp Tag Garage. Her experience was someone once told me replacing the entire solid rear axle on my 93 Previa would be easier than replacing the failed differential and axles. I don't know why I listened to that person. Junkyard rear axle with good diff, $70. New rear brakes and hardware, $150. New parking brake hardware, $40. New diff fluid, $20. New brake proportioning valve, $50. New hard lines I have to fabricate, $30. New soft lines, $25. Junkyard drive shaft, $20. The look on everyone's faces as 2 small girls in their 20s haul a massive solid rear axle out of the junkyard. Priceless.
We already discussed Andrew Jolly's. Finish up his thing is I don't think we did anything wrong. I can't remember why we dropped the tank the second time.
Did you drop something in at one point, I thought?
What?
Didn't you guys drop something in at one point, I thought?
Probably dropped a lot of shit in that tank, to be honest.
Wasn't one of them a screwdriver? I swear I remember a screwdriver being dropped in there.
Oh, probably. Also, I just realized I don't think that Jeep ever had a fuel filter.
Don't think it did.
Yeah.
Not your problem anymore. It's long gone.
Yeah. No, it's not.
What? What? Where is it?
We met the guy like 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
And it still has a broken third. Yeah.
Because of all that torque, bro.
Let's see. Following that, Andrew Mulligan, I know he worked at a shop known for tuning Evos. He said, forgetting to hook the return end back up to the fuel cell after filling a hardwired double pumper Evo to the brim and bringing it up to temp by the door in the shop. I guarantee there is a lot of fuel smell everywhere around there.
He said he got high at work for free.
Fair enough.
Concrete never looked so clean. Well, There's nothing like some aircraft stripper, as Christina was just mentioning. Let's see. I don't think Dave ever responded to me, did he?
No.
I'm
Oh,
looking
yes,
right
I see
now.
one respond. Yeah, because I don't recall this.
I don't remember it. I swear it was a story. I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was Dave had shared it, but it was like years ago. And a car was just like straight up at 50 degrees from the ground. And they were using like a lift or something. And like it had used two of the legs and they pulled up like the front, pulled up by the front axle or something. I remember seeing it in all the comments. From years later, everyone's like, "Oh my God, this was the worst thing," and someone probably should have died that day. But
I
How
vaguely
you know it's a
remember
good day?
Go on.
All right, following that, Bryce Crowley siphoning gas from the mower to make a Molotov cocktail as an 11-year-old. Took a big gulp of gas, burped up gas for over a week. Stupid kid ideas. I think anyone who's worked on anything carbureted has done that before.
I've had gas in my mouth a handful of times.
Yeah. Even worse when it's old and it's like half varnish.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Want to go ahead with the next one?
I will.
Do I need to do the next one?
No, I'm texting my boss about funny shit right now. Sorry. Let's see.
I don't know where you guys are at right now.
Justin McEntry? Entry? I don't know his last name.
McIntyre?
I'm giving up on
The one about the sob?
It's
Yeah,
MC. So Mick and then entire is the following word.
Oh my God.
Okay, well, I'm reading stuff that's this small, okay? And I probably have dyslexia.
There's a spectrum, Zach.
I am the spectrum. Doing the power steering wreck on my 1988 Saab 900 SPG with the engine still in it. Oh, that's not a good start to begin with. For those who don't know, the rack is is in the very back against the firewall with the differential sitting right above it. The rack is too large to fit out of the access holes where the tie rods go through. So you end up having to juggle this long metal rack around the differential engine and all accessories to get it to a point where it can come out the bottom. Tis was a pain. Rebuilding either of my Audis was easy. However, I will say that it is the only job I've encountered on the Saab that were anything close to difficult. The rest was relatively easy.
I want to say, like, if anyone remembers in high school when you were like popcorning someone for reading the next chapter, I think that's what we have to do with Zach right now. I'm going to read the next one from Dylan Hansen, who's worked a myriad of jobs for automotive.
You keep skipping ones on my list, which is funny.
Oh, it's because I haven't reorganized to be like comments, not relevant. Dylan Hansen, a rear wheel bearing on an E30 and found out the aftermarket wheel bearings have an inner and outer specific bearing race and have to remove the new bearing to put in yet another. What should have been a simple hour job turned into 2 days and waiting for new parts because I fucked up. All of us who have had to order their own parts, we feel that.
I can do Trevor Anderson's here. Owning a performance/stand shop where some clientele thought having social media clout could entitle them to preferential treatment, where in reality, I don't give a fuck. I think we've all been there.
Let's see here. We all hear horror stories about people saying, I'll give you a shout out on my Instagram for like 3 weeks. I post every day and I've got 700 followers. And it's like, great. No one cares.
Clout, bro.
Next on my list, Sawyer DeHart, doing the front brakes on my sister's 97 Lexus LX 450. Think fancy 80 series Land Cruiser is definitely the worst. The discs themselves are a captured rotor. Oh no. Those two that's PTSD. My Accord was also captured rotors, and those are awful. In that you have to take a whole hub apart just to get to the rotor. Never mind the fact that one of the rotors was trashed on one side. Just getting it all apart is a chore itself. Tapping out those cone washers just sucked. Once you got it apart, you still need to get the hub apart from the brake disc. I also replaced her bearings because why not? Putting it all back together is not all bad except for one thing. Setting bearing preload. Oh no. Sawyer, you've gone through some shit for your sister. You have to
just 3 or 4 Ugga
you have to stroke the spec and then put the lock nut and then the second nut on and torque that in inch pounds. To check that if you do that correctly, you need a pull scale to measure it. In short, it is a pain in the ass job that takes longer than you think. Captured rotor systems are never fun to deal with. Do you want to do Dan's project he's working on or Scott's?
Where's Dan's?
Is that the one that is?
I only see one thing for Dan.
Shattered.
Yeah.
We should honestly just have Dan on to talk about this.
All I see is pictures, so I've got no details on that one. All I see is the pictures.
This is currently with the Merc wagon. He pulled off the underplate, the plastic plate underneath his Mercedes wagon, and that in itself is completely coated in metal shards, gaskets, and oil. Next picture is a piston disconnected from the connecting rod, and where it connects back to the crank is non-existent. So there's a picture of the block still in the car, and it's missing cylinder 3. And a picture of the crank that is marred to hell and basically thick cheese grated metal bearings all in the oil pan. So sorry that you had to deal with that, Dan.
Yeah, just put a Barra in it.
That looked fun.
Dude, he's putting a Barra in a 68 Mustang?
Yeah, that's right. Dan's the one. Crazy son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Barra swapped the world, right?
Our good old Scott Michael Chamberlain may have not been the worst experience ever, but recently I had a doozy. Doing an alignment and the tie rod jammed nut. Wow, can I just not read to begin with? Doing an alignment and this tie rod jam nut is completely seized. So I do the usual mixed PB blaster, which smells great in your hair, by the way. It really does. I have been there. And torching with some good old nap gas. Well, I got the jam nut nice and red and hot. Slipped the speed wrench over it to break it loose. After a bit of effort, wrench slipped off the glowing red nut, and my forearm decided it wanted a juicy kiss from the jam nut. Then I mentioned it was glowing red and hot. I burned the absolute fuck out of my arm, blistered up and peeled off immediately. Didn't really hurt at first, but about 4 seconds later, when sweat got into the burn. Oh boy, that stung for a couple of weeks. And now I have a purple scar there, which is cool. I like purple.
Ouch.
I've had that happen before where like, okay, this burn isn't too bad. And you get any amount of liquid in there of any sort, and it just becomes the most insufferable pain ever. I think that's it.
Let's see. We did get Ben Allred from UJCC.
I didn't see that one.
Edgington to the CV Axel in a Mercedes.
Yeah, I already talked about that one.
I think we did get all of them. I think, I don't know.
No,
It's
yeah,
all
we
out
had
of
one
order. From like
Ben.
the order you guys are reading, it's like totally different for me.
Do you want to read Ben's?
Ben Allred's, did we?
No, we've not done Ben's. I've done Derek's. Ben's is newer.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was only 7 minutes ago. So Ben says, I rebuilt a turbo 400 trans one time with some help. I was lowering clutch packs down in, while the other guy was supposed to hold on to the shaft coming out the tail end. Shaft slipped out of his hand and jammed my hand behind or between sharp metal pointy bits and a heavy ass clutch pack inside the trans and took a chunk out of my hand or out of the back of my hand. Still have the scar. And that's definitely that's a painful experience, getting your hand caught in between anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
Well, let me just blow through the racing news here because we're going over on time. Yeah, we're over on time.
Oops.
I knew that was going to happen. I knew we were going to have a lot to talk about. Okay, I haven't read any of this. Hold on, let me skim this.
That actually might be something that I had to say as well. Kind of a controversial topic, but NASCAR related.
Yeah. So Le Mans 2020 will run in a 4-day time frame. Thursday, free practice 1 through 3 in qualifying. Friday, free practice 4. and hyperpole qualifying. I'm not entirely sure what hyperpole is. Maybe someone who's more qualified will know. Sunday warm-up, and the 88th 24-hour Le Mans will start. Also, some more people got their tickets purchased at this big race. I don't know any of these classes in LMP1, LMP2. I think these are all just companies and stuff who are racing and stuff. Gear Racing's 488 GTE has been promoted from AM to Pro. So we talked about this a little while ago, which is McLaren selling off a lot of their heritage fleet, which is basically their heritage road inside their facility. And basically, it looks like they have narrowed it down to a third of their F1 outfit. So it looks like you can pick up, or you can. Okay, it looks like you can own a third of. Hold on, I keep not reading all this.
They're selling 30% of their shares, so you can
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So these are two separate topics. I fucked that up a little bit there. Yeah, you can own a third of their F1 team, basically.
And part of the reason is, or one of the things that's really interesting is, so F1 has pushed back 2020, or my apologies, 2021 rules to 2022, but they have enforced a new funding limit. And so they're reducing it down by like over $75 million.
So I think it's currently either 150 or 175 million. I think it was supposed to be 150, and then Ferrari bitched about it, and they moved it to 175.
Yeah, so it's supposed to move down over the next 2 years. It's going to be stepping down. So it'll help narrow the field between Mercedes, who continues to take podiums for the last few years, Ferrari, who is trying to keep their record of having the most podiums, and then teams like Williams, which money is only the start of their issues.
Yeah.
Following that, 4th of July weekend will be the best weekend. IndyCar and NASCAR Xfinity Series on the IMS Road Course on Saturday. Big Machine Hand Sanitizer 400 on Sunday on the Oval. F1 is at the Red Bull Ring. IMSA Daytona, and IndyCar and NASCAR will be live on NBC. F1 will be on ESPN, and IMSA will be on the internet, probably behind a paywall, but it's still available.
Yeah, which will be a lot of racing. I can't wait to hear what Mike was able to watch and stuff.
Oh yeah.
This one I know a little bit more about. So Alex Zanardi is a really cool race car driver. He crashed, I think, in the mid '90s and lost both his legs, but recently ran. I can't remember which race. Someone will correct me at some point. I think he ran 24. No, I think he ran the Rolex 24 hour. I think, but he was in a BMW. I don't think it was the M8, but it might have been the M8, where he had all hand controls, and it was a super cool car. And watching them do like driver swaps was really awesome. But recently he got in a pedal bike accident, or a hand bike accident, because no legs. He has to do the hand bikes, and it looks like he is not doing great. From the article, looks like his organs are stable, but the prognosis is uncertain right now.
The next one, NASCAR, the original Toxic Fandom. I actually have Bubba Wallace's Twitter app right now. So someone put a noose in Bubba Wallace's garage for this weekend's Talladega race. The only people that could do it was either a crew person, a NASCAR official, or a track employee, because those are the only people who have the ability to get access to those garages. It's a secure system. And Bubba Wallace is the only African-American descendant who is currently racing in NASCAR. He drives the number 43 car. And let's see. There was also a plane towing the treason flag over the track, and numerous racists flying it outside of the track. So we're talking the Confederate flag and people purposely attacking Bubba for this, which NASCAR has had a very strong response since they have since they have banned the Confederate flag from being able to be ran by any of the vehicles inside the stadiums for any NASCAR races. Of course, they've received quite a bit of hate because they've had a large amount of support from down south, who is also directly supporting the Confederacy. NASCAR is very adamant about it. They are not backing down, and they are saying that they're still backing Bubba through these situations. They are having investigative teams looking at where that news came from, who was responsible for placing it there. And NASCAR said if they did find it, if it's an individual who was a part of a team, then that individual will be fired. If it was a racer, that racer will be disqualified from entering from NASCAR. And if it was a track employee, that track will have some very serious issues and fines from NASCAR. So they are very adamant in how they're handling the situation. There's no tolerance, basically. And it's a huge difference to see.
I think we have enough time to do our track daily crush, and then we'll have to move on to call it.
I don't even know what the F that is.
So this is all Jackson's. I had no part of this. I'm gonna let him take the reins here.
All right, let me find mine.
So Taylor, you know what track daily crush is, right?
Nope.
So there will be 3 cars. You get to pick which one you want to track, which one you want to daily, which one you want to crush.
Okay.
And we'll have 3 options.
With these cars that I have chosen, this is the shitbox edition. I had kind of mentioned it a couple of weeks ago during one of the podcasts where I was in, and Trent and Mike didn't quite get where I was going with it, I think. Shitbox edition. The cars can't be modified. It has to be a stock configuration. These are the shittiest cars that I can honestly think of that you have a choice. One of them has to be dailied, one of them has to be tracked, and then one of them you have to crush. Your 3 options. You have a 2001 Honda Accord. It's automatic, and it has the J30, which eats its motor mounts. Following that, you have a 93 Honda Civic. It's going to be a rusted one, and you have a single cam D13, which is a carbureted European-only engine, which made 70 horsepower. And finally, you have a 86 FC RX-7, and it's a naturally aspirated 13B. Your choice of auto or manual for that one. Zach, do you have your...
I do. Before I say mine, anyone who's watching, feel free to put in the comments what you guys are thinking. So I'm actually going to agree with Mike, because I actually already asked Michael Chandler this question, and I think we're on the same page here, which is crush the Civic, daily the Accord, and throw that FC around like you hate it, like you hate your life.
It's what it was meant for. Now,
go on.
I was going to say, if I were to daily one, it would be the Civic, because I guarantee that 70 horsepower, 1.3 liter carbureted son of a bitch going run real good on gas. That FC, I probably would crush. I would probably crash it if I did drive it. That 13B, and it was a heavier chassis than the previous generation, the SA22s. And it just didn't make the power to make reason, whereas that's why they made a turbo model of that one. Then I would auto the J30, because if it's going to eat a motor mount, I may as well be trying to throw through a corner at 40 miles an hour, because that's about what it could handle.
Yeah, I'd probably have to agree with you on that. I'd probably just send the RX-7 around, get rid of that. Daily the Civic, because that gas mileage, you're not wrong. Like, that's going to be pristine. And, yeah, then what'd you say? Track the Accord, right? Making sure I'm not going crazy. And then probably, let's track it and hope it survives.
And I don't see any responses in YouTube. Did you get any on Twitch, Jackson?
I'm not watching. Taylor.
No, nothing on Twitch.
Okay. Well, I will start to do the outro. If I see one pop up, I will read it out. But no, I think all in all, this was a fairly successful episode. We're all in one piece. Trent actually just messaged me and asked if the train rolled into the station in one piece. And I said that we are currently pushing it in the station. But no, I want to thank my guests, Jackson and Taylor. Taylor has a pretty good social media following. Do you want to plug any of that while we're here?
Sure. You can find me on YouTube. It'll be just my name. Scroll down. I don't know, 2 pages. No, not 2 pages. Like two scrolls. You'll find it. That's the easiest way to find it. And then on Twitter, it's just I get my Instagram and Twitter mixed up. It's just Taylor_FG4, and then Instagram will be Taylor.FG4, and then you can also find me on Twitch, and that'll be MK6Taylor.
Do you want to plug anything, Jackson, while you're here?
Yeah, hopefully, with Zach and I getting some more time on our hands lately, hopefully we'll be starting up some filming of our Utah Drives videos again.
You pull the gimbal out. You need to pull the gimbal out.
Yeah, you need to. But hopefully we'll start throwing some videos up there, and you guys could follow us in doing our videos of our cars that we hate so much.
Yep. And then for me, I'm still posting daily on my film Instagram, Zach Lords 35mm. Just post camera photos I took with either my 35 or my 120mm camera. Well, you can find us on all the social medias at facebook.com/camautomag. We post articles and funny things and stuff like that. We're also on Twitter, where we post live updates from racing events and stuff like that. You can also find this podcast. We find all great podcasts on Google Play, Spotify, Spotify, and all other great
Apple Music or Apple Music, whatever
Apple
it
Play,
is.
Yeah, Apple, whatever the fuck it is. Apple Podcast, I think is what it is. Apple Podcast. Please like, rate, review, and subscribe. Like, we're doing this for free for you guys if you're watching this not live. And then if you want to watch this live, you can join our Patreon. I think it's $5 a month. You can watch this live every week. Every Monday, we go live from about 7 to about 9. And yeah, there's other tiers in there, get shout outs and stuff like that. And if we send
secret number, you get that. You get our Cam Shenanigans page. You get to see a little bit early access for any of the podcasts. Once they are finished, they go up about a day early. You also get our questions of the week, which might be a little different for the Cam Shenanigans. We always have stupid ideas being tossed around in there, and it's always a fun time. And then if you go up from there, you get stickers, apparel, shout outs.
Yeah. And I believe anything above the $5 a month, Mike will send you random shit throughout the year and stuff.
I'm still waiting on my shirt, Zach.
Message Mike. We got a response in the chat. Sam Goebel said, "Daily the RX-7, crush a Civic, and race the other one,"
which was which will eat its motor mount after the first, after the second turn.
Yeah. And then we also have a swag page. You can't see my hat because it's too dark in here, but you can get awesome Cam hats. We have tons of cool shirts, like our Fly Can-Am shirts and stuff like that. We get flip-flops, shorts, bags. I think the Mount Cammore shirt's up there, which I think is offensive to me because my face is not on it. But I'm the one who ran this all by himself, so just fuck off. Go check that out right now. There's tons of cool stuff over there. And then also Steady Broke, which is our longtime sponsor. Tommy is doing great stuff over there. Tons of cool shirts, tons of cool things like that. Jackson is doing something.
Bear.
And that's the bear. Tons of the Broke AF t-shirt and stuff like. Always really good pricing. I think we have a coupon code. I honestly can't remember what the fuck it is. It's on the slide that I don't have right now with me. And then every Tuesday, Mike is doing a Twitch Tuesday. Other members of the Camcast normally join. I looked like we were doing Gran Turismo 7. I'll just go back to the top. It's Motorsport 7.
Yeah. Gran Turismo 7.
I don't fucking know.
That's not out yet.
I don't fucking know.
It was just announced, I think.
And they're doing tons of cool stuff. And there's always fun faces and fun voices to be had on there.
Now, if you think that this entire podcast was a train wreck, apart from the normal train wreck, go ahead and let us know. Message Cam Auto Magazine on Facebook or shout us out on Twitter or Instagram.
Just at me.
Yeah.
Directly, that will probably give us the best results. And let Mike know he needs to not leave, or if we should do a train wreck episode, like once every 3 months.
Once a quarter.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thank you guys for all joining us, and thanks for watching. I am going to figure out how to fucking end this.
Is there an end meeting button on it? I know there's a leave down at the bottom right corner for Jack.